Hey tribe, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. Kit's sitting up and paying close attention because we are actually, well, he just laid down. We are actually in an RV park. And before I get into all of the reasons why we're in an RV park, let's go ahead and roll the intro. And before we do that, let me say thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. Special shout out to my channel members. And if you want to consider becoming one, there'll be a QR code you can scan over here on the screen or a link in the video description down below. We've got a couple of different tiers. It doesn't cost all that much if it's something you'd be interested in doing. Please check it out. I can certainly use your support and definitely appreciate it. Without further ado, let's roll the intro and talk about temperatures.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
Why am I in an RV park? Well, I'm in an RV park because I was at a lovely campground, not very far away, only about 15 miles away from here. Up in the mountains, I was about 7,300 feet. It was beautiful, no hookups, but it was a legit campground. And I checked the weather forecast, and it was going to get very, very cold. And in fact, it said that this was several days ago now, when I looked at this, it said the overnight low tonight was going to be like 24, 25 degrees. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, well, first of all, I don't want to be that cold. I just don't. And one of my concerns was the weather forecast was for this little town that I'm in right now, which is Ely, Nevada. And I was at 7,200 feet in elevation, so I was higher in elevation than I am currently. And that made me concerned. Kit, don't yell at our neighbor. Hey, good job. You're doing a good job with your indoor voice and just keeping an eye out. Thank you. I don't love being in RV parks. My concern was it was going to be, hey, he's already inside and closed the door. No point in yelling at him now. Huh? How about that? Okay, how about that? Just settle down. Thank you. My concern was that at the higher elevation, it was going to be even colder. So that was, is it a big deal? I mean, I've got a furnace. Not really that big a deal. But my concern was with regard to my lithium batteries. And so I'm looking at this stretch of like 4 days of pretty daggone cold overnight temperatures and also pretty cold daytime temperatures, which meant mostly I wasn't going to be doing much of anything outside. And so ultimately my decision was to come down in elevation and come to an RV park where I can plug in. Now, we're going to talk about the whole plug-in experience and why I will probably never do this again for the reason that I did it this time, which was primarily temperature. Here's what I do. When I decide to spend money to plug in, I try and do it in a way that allows me to accomplish as many things as possible. And in this particular RV park, they've got a laundry room, it only has 2 machines, but they're basically 2 washers, 2 dryers, but they're basically brand new and everybody's using them today. I'm planning to do my laundry tomorrow. Oh yeah, here's somebody else walking down there with another load of laundry now. They also have 4 shower rooms. And I guess this is kind of a campground review. So I am at the Valley View RV Park in Ely, Nevada. They've got 4 shower rooms, one of which they have just finished redoing completely, so very nice. They keep their shower room area heated all the time. Very nice. And the people running the park are super nice. The people that I've met in the park since I got here yesterday, also super nice. Kit got to make a couple new friends yesterday evening, and we've arranged a play date for later this afternoon for their 2 dogs and him to be able to, go run amok for a little bit. So that'll be fun. But the other thing that I'm doing today is I'm doing a lot of cooking. So I'm not going to tell you much about that here because I'm going to do a whole separate video on what I'm making today. I will give you a spoiler alert. What I'm making today is chili con carne using dried beans from 2013. They're really old. But the beans are, 13 years old. Wow, that's crazy. But they're fine. And that's one of the things I love about dried beans. So, I'm going to do a bunch of cooking. I'm going to do some cleaning. I'm going to do some video editing. Oh, the other issue that I had at the campground was that I had a really sketchy signal. And it kept dropping out, and I didn't have enough to be able to upload to get a video out for you guys. And so, all in all, this just seemed like a reasonable use of my resources to be able to deal with all those things. And because of the one thing that I was able to do there, it kind of delayed my travel just a little bit because I'm waiting for a package to arrive. And I'm hopeful that that package will solve some of these issues that I've had in terms of connectivity. And you can probably guess what it's going to be, but I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm not going to tell you until I actually get it. So, that's all the reasons why I would come and pay for an RV park. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my concerns about the temperatures and how I dealt with that. So basically what I did was I got here yesterday afternoon. I have a handheld temperature sensor, thermometer basically. Hang on, let me show you. This guy right here. And all you do is you point it at whatever you want to measure the temperature of, and a red light lights up. So like the temperature of my camera is 88.3 degrees. I don't know if that'll show up or not. Yeah, I think it does. And then it holds on the screen for, I don't know how long, 30 seconds or so before it disappears. But super simple to use. So what I did was I got this out yesterday, and starting late in the afternoon, I pointed it at the side of the RV for the outside of the compartment that contains my batteries and my Victron components, my multi-plus inverter, all that stuff. So first I checked the temperature on the outside of the RV, and then I opened up the compartment and I checked the temperature first of the batteries and then of the multi-plus inverter, because the multi-plus creates heat when it's operating. And what that means is that it helps to heat the compartment that the batteries are in, which then helps to heat the batteries. Now nowadays you can buy lithium batteries that are self-heating, but mine are not. The manufacturer for my brand, Big Beer Batteries, and I love the batteries, didn't come out with a heated battery until about a year after I got mine. So you can get them that are heated now, but mine aren't. So I wanted to conduct this experiment and see if I really needed to be concerned about the overnight lows, as I thought I did, in terms of the potential for damaging my batteries and their inability to be able to charge when the batteries are at temperatures below freezing. So ambient temperature can be below freezing, it doesn't matter. It's whether or not the batteries are at a temperature of freezing or below. So the first time I checked, I don't know, it was still like 55, 60 degrees outside, and it appeared that the batteries were about 15 to 18 degrees warmer than the outside temperature. And the inverter was about 5 degrees warmer than the batteries. So about 18 to 25 degrees. 23, whatever. And I did that a couple more times throughout the evening and just before I went to bed. And I was seeing basically pretty consistent results in terms of the differential between the temperature against the outside of the rig and the temperature of the batteries and the Victron components inside. And then, because remember, it had been warm during the day, comparatively it was like 62, 63, and so getting colder as the evening progresses, and really getting much colder after I went to bed last night. In fact, it was 32 degrees when I first got up this morning, and by the time I got out to, got dressed and ready and got outside to check the temperature again, it was up to 35 degrees outside. But I wanted to check that because the batteries would have been operating at the lower temperature for a longer period of time than they would have been at a lowering temperature before I went to bed. Hope that makes sense. So much colder for longer overnight is what I'm trying to get to here. And I was very pleased to see that I was still seeing basically the same differential. The outside skin of the RV was at about 35 degrees, but when I opened up the battery compartment, the batteries were reading 46 to 49 degrees. So, yeah, so at that point we've got about 11 to 15 degrees difference in temperature between external and internal. And once again, the multi-plus was still about 5 degrees warmer than the batteries were. Now, the thing that just occurs to me is that if I know it's going to be cold overnight, below freezing overnight, and starting fairly early in the evening, typically I turn my inverter off when I go to bed and I just put it on charge only. But because it runs, I think runs a little bit warmer when it's on inverting than if it's just on charge only, if it's going to be super cold overnight, it may make sense just to leave it on inverting all night long. And then I should be able to, recharge the batteries during that day. Worst case, it might take 2 days to recover if it's not super sunny. So that just occurred to me. So what this means for me, because I found this subject terribly confusing, quite frankly. And what this means for me is that I am no longer going to be concerned about the overnight lows if it's going to drop down near or slightly below freezing overnight for a night or two. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I think it's all going to be fine. So I learned something. I hope you learned something. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Wait for the credits to roll, naming out my channel members. And again, if you want to consider becoming one, I'd really appreciate that. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day too. And we will see you next time. Bye for now.